much. Senator Patterson, you have the call.
Thanks, Chair. Ms Foster, in relation to the Direction 99 issue, the Minister for Immigration, Andrew Giles, has essentially thrown the department under the bus in question time today and said it's your fault that he wasn't advised of a number of these cases being overturned by the AAT. Is that right?
It's correct that he wasn't informed, Senator. So we had agreed a protocol with Minister Giles to bring to his attention cases of a particular nature, which my colleagues can talk you through. And we did not adequately resource that function, and it was not being done in a timely way, and we had not advised Minister Giles of that particular case. That particular case, or there are a number of cases that he was asked about today and that are in the media? A number of cases, Senator. And so what we have done in response is put in place a protocol to ensure that we're advising within a very short time when we have a remittal from the AAT, and we are looking rapidly at allocating resources to that function so that we can actually fulfil our commitment to the Minister. So can we just be really clear, in a couple of different categories, which are the cases that the Minister was never advised about, which are the cases that the Minister was advised about but not in a timely way, and which of the cases was the Minister advised about in a timely way? So, Senator, I wasn't trying to make a distinction. I said that we made a commitment to the Minister to advise him on cases that should be brought to his attention because of a number of criteria, and we have failed to do that in a timely way. So some cases have been brought to his attention. Exactly. Exactly. And this is what I'm seeking to understand. Which are the cases that were brought to his attention? Which are the ones that were not brought to his attention? Which are the ones that were brought to his attention but late? That, I mean, you yourself indicated partly it's an issue of timeliness, and it also doesn't sound like it's exhaustive. It's not every case that you failed to inform him. So, Senator, I'm afraid I don't have that detail with me. Ms Kavanagh might be able to help us, but we're actually missing the officer who is responsible for that area. He's speeding back to Parliament House, and he should be here very shortly. We'll do our best to answer your questions until he gets here. Okay. Ms Kavanagh.
Senator, I was going to confirm that Michael Thomas, who's the head of our Immigration Compliance Group, would be best placed to talk about cases. Okay, I look forward to him joining us. It would be good if he's able to do so.
I think, Senator Patterson, I think the other thing Minister Giles said today was that now that he has become aware of these cases, now that the department has advised him of these cases, he has, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was either that he's begun cancelling visas or is urgently getting advice on the cancellation of some of those visas.
Yes, I heard him say that too, and I'll come to that in later on if there's time. Just to be clear though, I mean, how on earth does something like this happen? How does the department agree with the Minister a protocol to inform them and then fail to do so? I mean, that's extraordinary.
It is, Senator, and I regret very much that this has happened. Clearly, I was not aware that we were failing to meet our obligations, and now that Dr Kassar and I are aware, we are taking immediate steps to remedy this.
When did this become apparent?
I became aware of it, Senator, just in the last couple of days.
As a result of the media coverage about these cases, presumably?
That's correct, Senator.
Have you identified how this happened?
So, Senator, there are a number of areas which have had either growth in their activities or have felt a resource strain, and I was aware of that in a general sense, particularly when I was doing Dr. Cass's role when I was Associate Secretary Immigration, what I had not understood was what the implication of the resource constraints over some period of time was on issues like this.
So is the issue that the department wasn't aware that you were losing cases in the AAT, or the department was aware and you just weren't passing it on to the minister?
We were aware, Senator, and we had committed to triaging, for want of a better word, those cases which should be brought to the minister's attention. And we have a process to do that, but with very limited resources, that was taking us a very long time to do.
Right, so what kind of delays are we talking about here? How long after a case is decided was the minister being notified?
I think it was...
We have to wait for Jacob.
Yeah.
Sorry, Senator.
Yeah, I'd be speculating.
Okay, so we'll wait for Mr Thomas to answer that. I mean, it doesn't seem to me that notification of a minister of a fact that you're aware of requires a lot of resources. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but how many people do you need if the department's aware of the case to then just let the minister's office know?
So, Senator, one of the things that Dr. Cassar has put in place now is a two-part process where we alert the minister very quickly, and then we process the advice around cancellation. And my understanding is that until we discovered this problem, that the brief for cancellation was, the facts and the circumstances was being compiled, and that does take some time.
How long has this been going on for? Or is this something that is a lapse recently in the last few months, or has it been for years?
Well, Jacob is on his way and is best placed to talk to this, but my understanding is that this has been occurring for some time and the backlog has been building.
Right, because I certainly wasn't a minister in the former government, including not in this portfolio, but my understanding is it was routine for the ministers to be notified when they're unsuccessful, when the department's unsuccessful in an AAT case, and then the minister then can take action, including intervening to cancel a visa.
And Senator, that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. How did we get to this position? But more importantly, to be honest, how we can rectify it immediately.
Have you identified who's responsible for this?
Ultimately, I am, Senator.
Of course, I accept that. The Secretary is responsible for the administration of the department, but you said you weren't aware, so obviously someone was aware and they didn't tell you. Why didn't they?
So, Senator, at the time that MD 99, for example, was put into place, I was Associate Secretary Immigration. It was my job to know these things, and I take responsibility for not interrogating the system and ensuring I did.
That is good of you to do so, but I accept that you're taking responsibility, but it doesn't end with you. There are other people who are responsible too. At some point in the chain, someone decided not to tell you, or for whatever reason did not tell you. Have you identified who that is and why that occurred?
So, Senator, of course, I know the area that was responsible for processing these things. And as I said to you earlier, I was aware that they were resource constrained. What I didn't understand was the impact of that. That may have been my failing rather than the officer's failing. And I was saying earlier, and I'm not being flippant as I say this, Senator, if I want to drive the kind of cultural change that I think is so important in the department, where people can feel confident to come forward when things aren't working, I can't have a punitive response to mistakes. It has to be a fixing and learning process.
Sure, but I accept that to a degree, understand the rationale for that, but we also have to have accountability when things happen. And someone just saying, well, it's my fault, I accept responsibility, doesn't necessarily constitute accountability. Are there any consequences for you or anyone else, given that this occurred?
Senator, I'm not being... I'm not taking this on my shoulders because I'm the leader I'm doing it because it was my job, as I said, to know what the impacts of the resourcing that I was allocating across my organisation were. And it's a lesson for me to make sure when people tell me that they're resource constrained, I actually explore with them what are the implications. And it will be a lesson for all of my staff to bring that forward.
I mean, I'm kind of pleased in a sense that there's a lesson being taken out of this. But, I mean, someone has allegedly been murdered as a result of someone being released following a successful AAT appeal, that in the normal course of events, there would have been a ministerial intervention to recancel that person's visa, and that event may never have happened. So just taking, I've got a valuable leadership lesson out of it. I don't think constitutes accountability for that very serious thing.
Senator, I don't see how I can accept any more responsibility or be any more accountable than to say to you it was a leadership failing that I did not understand what the implications of the resourcing that I had allocated were and remedy that.
Ms Foster, normally when something of this gravity happens, there's a tangible consequence. I mean, a leadership lesson is something you can get from the Harvard Business Review or a airport book. This is serious. I mean, someone has allegedly lost their life as a result of this. Are we saying there's going to be no consequence other than a verbal, I've taken responsibility, I've learned lessons?
So, Senator, Dr. Cassar and I are doing everything we can to put in place something to prevent this from happening again. There was... I don't know how I can add to my evidence,
Okay.
Senator.
Asked the same question a few times, Senator.
Mr Thomas is here, perhaps he can come forward. Mr Thomas, to bring you up to speed, thank you for joining us. I was asking questions about the lack of notification, apparently, to the Minister under an agreed protocol of these AAT decisions. And I was seeking clarity about whether the Minister was informed about any of these decisions, and if so, when. And so if you could enlighten us.
Apologies. Michael Thomas, Group Manager, Immigration Compliance. Senator, just to confirm, are you talking about informing the Minister of any case in terms of AAT decisions or other decisions?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been told that there's been a breakdown in protocol, that the Minister was supposed to be informed of certain decisions in the AAT, and that didn't happen, although it sounds like in some instances it might have happened on a delayed basis and then not in a timely way. So I'm just seeking to understand, what was the Minister informed of in a timely way as per the protocol? What was the Minister informed of in a delayed way? And what was the Minister never informed of?
I would have to take that on notice, Senator, to give you an accurate breakdown of those categories.
Okay, well, I've just asked this question to your colleagues who said you'd be able to shed light on this when you got here. I'm going to need better than that, than just taking it on notice. Can you give me proportions?
Not accurately, Senator. It will depend on a range of different factors in terms of complexity, timing, resourcing, priority, workload, in terms of, as you've said, what's sort of within a shorter time frame or a longer time frame.
Okay. Were there decisions that the Minister was informed of in a timely way?
I would assume so, Senator, but again, okay. I'll confirm that on notice.
Okay. So on notice, I'd like to know how many of those there were and which decisions the Minister was informed of in a timely way. Secondly, were there decisions the Minister was never informed of? You're nodding, is the answer yes?
No, sorry, as in I'll take that on notice as
no,
well.
But I want to know, was there, without the specific number, were there instances where the Minister was never informed?
I would have to check, Senator. This goes, I assume you're talking years back into the past or even recently, but just to get you an accurate answer to that question, I'll take it on notice. Okay, but I mean, surely you know whether there are, I mean, we'll come in a second to the ones that weren't notified in a timely way or eventually notified, but surely you know whether there were some that were completely missed. Dr. Cassar, you're nodding.
No, Senator, I think just to be helpful, I think the issue is more around timeliness as opposed to failure to...
Okay. So there was no instance where the Minister or his office was never informed. They were only informed in a timely way or not informed in a timely way.
That's my understanding, but if we can take that on notice,
Sure.
again, we're just starting to uncover this and work through the data. So.
Okay.
And Senator, just to be
Yep.
clear, if something was in the pipeline to go to the minister but hadn't yet gone to him, then the technical answer to your question is he was never informed, even though it would have got to him when we got to it.
Absolutely. So I want to understand if there are any cases that fit that, and if so, which ones. We're about to have a dinner break. If you are able to bring back answers after the dinner break, that will be extremely helpful. Otherwise, I suspect we will still be in outcome 2 tomorrow morning, and I'd be grateful if we can have it tomorrow morning.
Senator Patterson, I've got no issue at all with the department coming back with more precise information, but I think it was evident from Ms Foster's earlier evidence that there were cases that the minister was, or decisions of the AAT that the minister was not made aware of.
Yeah, well, I want to know which ones, and I want to know how many, and I think this has to be examined. So I look forward to the department facilitating that as soon as possible.
Thanks, Senator Patterson. I do have to share the call.
Okay.
We'll come back to